Song this morning, and I think that was a new song this morning. We done that one before. That was great, Sam. You sounded wonderful. Thanks for sharing and for just blessing us and blessing God with that. You know, it really is hard to believe that school starts back in our town this next week, and I hear from many folks, especially those that haven't been in school in a long time, like a really long time. Man, when I was in school, we didn't start back till after Thanksgiving, and we went, something crazy like that. And while it's a little bit
It was the middle of September.
Middle of September, okay. Middle of September, but that our kids get longer breaks these days, and they don't seem to mind, and so it kind of evens out, I guess, at least for our kids. But even if the schools aren't starting tomorrow, I know nearby districts, their schools are starting in the weeks to come. And the start of school, it's really, it's kind of an odd time, because it's like it's almost here, it's not here, and for some of us who've got kids at home, it really means a lot. And for those that don't have kids at home, it's hard to remember what that's like. It's been a while, but I can remember it somewhat, because it's while your life isn't surrounded by school break schedules, something changes when there's back to school, and you have to deal with that, and different things are kind of programmed around the school semesters, even if you're not in school, even if you don't have kids in school. At the start of school, it's exciting, it's full of promise, it's a chance to learn, to grow, it's a chance to be with friends, but new schools can also be nerve-wracking and scary. I mean, this is especially true when students are starting a new school in their life. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm going back to school. I've been to this school before. It's fine. But when you travel to a new school, whether it's high school or middle school or elementary school or off to college, there's new exciting things that are happening and around the corner, but there's also anxieties and uncertainties about it. We know this in my own household. I have somebody that's starting in kindergarten, somebody that's starting in high school, and the different challenges and different excitements in the midst of that, and George is making signs. Yeah, it's good, Oh, he's asking me why. He's a particle pal. That's who he is. That's his class. But anyway, so it's a big time in a new school. It brings new challenges, new people, new uncertainties. And if parents, if your kids have our kids have special issues that they deal with, learning issues or healthcare issues, and so there's other uncertainties and challenges around those things that you're just trying to navigate that add stress upon stress to the whole thing. And it's a lot of new all at once. And as a parent, I'll be honest, I feel it too. There's a part of me that's proud, that's excited for our kids, that's looking forward to the back to school season. But there's also a part of me that I'll worry a little bit. Like, is it going to be more hectic when the kids are back in school? Will they be safe? Will they find their people? Will they be okay? Will everything work out the way we want it to work out? Maybe it's been a while since you've been in school, but can you think back to it? Can you think back to what that was like? Can you remember the start of school? Maybe the start of the new school year, the night before. Could you sleep? Is it easy to fall asleep the night before you started back to school? Or maybe it was one of those nights where you couldn't sleep, and it's like you're for Santa Claus, but Santa Claus was bringing you a whole bunch of unknown, and it's like your stomach's in knots. Or maybe the morning of, did you stand in front of the mirror a little bit longer than usual, trying to make sure your hair was a certain way and you were dressed a certain way, because you knew that there was going to be a first impressions, you knew that you had certain things to do. Was your stomach in knots? Did you wonder, who am I going to sit with? Will my teacher be nice? Will I be able to find my friends? What if I can't find my class? Or what if I don't measure up? Some of you were excited, or some of you are excited. Some of you were terrified, and maybe some of you kids this morning, you're terrified as well. But some of you pretended to be confident, but on the inside, you're just kind of a ball of nerves and anxiety. You're like, what's going on? What's going to happen? Just praying that you'll survive the day, that you won't fall down or up the steps on the way to lunch. Just praying that you'll be able to find that lunch seat that's not like off in Jupiter, like in no man's land, that you can be in the seed and you can be with the right friends. And here's the thing. That experience of stepping into something new, that experience of stepping into something new and not knowing what's going to happen, it doesn't end with school. School's an easy go-to, but it doesn't end with school. Some of you are in that space right now, and maybe it's not a classroom or a locker or the lunchroom, but maybe it's still the unknown, the new job, the new relationship, a new diagnosis. I know some are learning of new pregnancies, a season where things feel unfamiliar, where things feel uncertain and the stakes feel high. Maybe your family is in a situation right now and it's a financial situation or a marital situation and you don't know how it's going to turn out, but the stakes are high and you're just unsure about what the future holds. And that moment when you're standing on the edge of something uncertain, that moment when you're standing on the precipice of the uncertain things, it can be scary. And it can seem as if tomorrow won't come. It can seem as if uncertainty is around. It can be exciting also, but it can be scary. And in these moments, there's often a gap. There's often a gap between what you know is ahead and your understanding of how you're going to get there. There's a gap between what you know you've got to face and an understanding of how you're going to get there. For our students who are starting school, that gap may be, they get the syllabus, especially in college and maybe in high school. You get that syllabus and you see all the things that you have to accomplish for that semester or that year. And you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And so that gap between what you have to accomplish and how you have to get there, you don't know how it's going to happen. And for your family situation, if you're facing a diagnosis, you're like, this is what the doctor says I've got to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it. There's a gap between the thing that you have to do and the thing that in the way that you're going to get there, how you're going to handle it. And it's in this gap that fear can creep in. It's in this gap that worry can creep in and uncertainty. And as you start school or as you embark on a challenge that is in front of you, I want you to know that you're not the first one to walk this path. Whatever your path is, you're not the first one to have done it. You're not the first one to walk this path. And today I want to tell you about someone who started something brand new and what helped him. And this is actually a story that we find in the Bible of someone who was asked to do something brand new. And it was much later in life, and he was asked to do something brand new. And as we are about to start on this new venture, and as he was about to start on this new adventure, God gives him a promise. God gives him a promise. And this story comes from the very first book in the Bible that's called Genesis. And so if you've got a Bible, you want to follow along, I want to invite you to open your Bible to find Genesis chapter 12. And here we get the chance to read about this guy named Abram. Now, you might have heard about Abram before, and if you haven't heard about Abram, you might have heard about Abraham. And Abraham and Abram, they're the same guy. Abram gets a name change a little bit later in life, and he gets a new name. But today in the text that we're going to read, he's referred to as Abram, so I'm going to talk about him as Abram, unless I forget, and I'll say Abraham. And so you can either call me out on that or just know that Abram and Abraham are the same person. And Abram, he lived in a city called Haran, and Haran is in modern-day Turkey, and he lived there with his family, with his dad. He was well accustomed to the city. This is where he called home. He had a good business. He had a good livelihood. He had raised his family there. Like those that were around him, things were good for him in Haran. He lived a pretty successful life, and if he thought about his future, he's probably like, yeah, I'm probably going to die here too and be buried with my dad, with my family in this same place. But then one day something happened that changed all that. Have you ever been at a point in your life and you're like, things are going the way you think they are, and then something happens at one point and it changes everything? Well, that's what happens with Abram. That something happens that changes absolutely everything. And he received a call from God this moment. He received a call from God about something new. Here's what it says in Genesis chapter 12, beginning in verse 1, that the Lord said to Abram, "Leave your land, your family, and your father's household for the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation and will bless you. I will make your name respected, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you. Those who curse you, I will curse. All the families of earth will be blessed because of you. Now, Abram's not going back to school here, but God is asking Abram to begin something brand new. God is asking Abram to do something brand new. God is asking Abram to take a big risk, to start on a new venture, to uproot his family. He's asking him to take his whole family. This includes like nieces and nephews and kind of his extended households, to take his whole family, abandon his safety net, and travel to a new place, a new land. And what gets me about this is that God is asking Abram to travel to this new land, but God doesn't even tell Abram where it is. He doesn't even tell Abram where this new land is. Now, if you're about to set out on a trip, it's really good advice to know where you're going. Like for mostly, like I don't like to go places I don't know where I'm going. I get a little nervous about that. I want to make sure I have a nice bed to sleep in and kind of all this stuff, these luxuries. And so if I'm going somewhere and starting out on a trip, I want to know where I'm going to go. And I also kind of like to plan my route. But God tells Abram, look here, buddy, I want you to go somewhere. And when you go there, you're not going to know where it is. I'm just going to show you where it is. And when you get to this place, you're going to settle down, but you're not going to get a map. You're not going to get a GPS. You're not going to get a route destination of where you're going. I'll show it to you in time, but you're going to go there. You know, that's not too unlike what we ask our children. We send them to school to try to help them grow. And we have these hopes, parents and grandparents have these hopes and these dreams for their children and their grandchildren, these hopes and dreams that they'll make good decisions and one day they will be self-sufficient, they'll be successful, they'll be able to take care of themselves and be a good person and to love those who are around them. But the thing is, our kids, they don't get a map for how to get there. If you're raising kids, hopefully you've gotten there at least to a point or at least good enough to be able to invest in somebody else's life. I don't think you ever really arrive there, but maybe somebody older than me can tell me you've arrived, and then I can have that to look forward to. But our kids, as they're trying to do this and as they're walking step in step, they don't know necessarily the best choices to make. They don't know how to get there. They don't get a map for how to be an adult and how to be successful in life. Instead, they get little pieces along the way. And then they have to trust those around them to take that next step, to take that next test, to do that assignment, to do this sport, to do this other thing. And they have to work for it and learn and grow. In the midst of this, it's kind of really easy to see why going back to school can be so stressful. You don't know the end result. You don't know where it's going to get you. And so as God asked Abram to start on something new, God says, don't worry about it. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. Don't worry about what the end result is going to be. I will show you. Friends, don't worry about the end result. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. I will show it to you. And what I want you to know is that you are going to be blessed. And because you live blessing, you are also going to bless others. So God tells Abram, don't worry about how you're going to get there. I'm going to show it to you. And as you do that, you will be blessed. And because you are blessed, you are going to be able to bless others. God tells Abram that he's going to give him a large family and that he will be a blessing. And in essence, God tells Abram the same thing that God is telling us today, telling you today, that God's got your back. That God's got your back. That I'm going to protect you, that I'm going to be there with you. You don't know where you're going yet, God says, but I do. You don't know how it's all going to work, God says, I do. I'll go with you every step of the way. And that's really what blessing means in the Bible. It's not just about success or about comfort or about things going smoothly. It's about God being with you on the journey, especially when you don't have all the answers. And notice this, God's blessing doesn't mean that there won't be challenges. God's blessing doesn't mean that there won't be challenges. It just means that you don't have to face them alone. God's blessing means that God's presence will go with you. It means that God's protection will surround you. It means God's provision will meet you in whatever challenges you are facing. Maybe not ahead of time, but always right on time. And not only that, this blessing isn't just for Abram. God says all the families of the earth will be blessed because of you. All the families of the earth will be blessed because of Abram, will be blessed because of you. So when we say God's got your back, we're reminded that this blessing, it flows from God through you to other people. That it's not just God's got your back, but you're able to receive the blessing from God. Then you, because you have been blessed, you can in turn, like Abram, to share that blessing with others. It's so when God says, I've got your back, we're not just saying that God's going to make your life easy. What we're saying, friends, is that God will be with you. God will be with you. God is for you. And God wants to work through you to bring peace, to bring hope, to bring strength to others. And that's the kind of blessing that Abram receives. And you know what? You don't need to know your whole path. You really don't need to know your whole path. But if God is inviting you to take a step forward, He's got you. God's got you. He's got your back, and God is inviting you to take just one next step maybe. Abram didn't have the whole trip planned out. He didn't take the whole trip at once. In fact, verse 4 says that Abram left just as the Lord told him, that he left just as the Lord told him. And then there's some other stuff that it kind of goes on to speak about how he left. But he left. He listened to God, and he took that step without knowing where to go. He steps out on faith, trusting that if God had called him, then God's got him. And so what this really means for you, regardless of if you're walking into a new classroom, to a kindergarten, into a high school, and into a college dorm, or maybe you're walking into the next day of whatever season of life you're in right now, that God's got you. God's going to be there with you. And that's why we're here. And that's why we're here, to help you remember that God's got you. And that's what I want you to remember today, that God's got your back. When you step into the unknown, when you don't have all the answers, when you're trying to be brave, but you still feel a little scared, God is with you. And just like Abram, you may not have a map, but you have a promise. And the promise is from God. The promise is from God that God will be there, that God will bless you with presence, with protection, with provision. Through you, others will be blessed too. So whatever season you're in, whatever you're stepping into, take that next step. Trust God and know that God is already ahead of you. God is already walking with you, surrounding you with love. That's what it means to be blessed. And I want you to know, friends, that I'm so glad that you're here today. I am so glad that you are here today. And here at Kern Church, we want to walk with you through this next season of life, whether that means that you're in school and we want to walk through you through the school year, whether it means you're in some other season of your life. We want to walk with you. We want to grow together. And that's what today is all about, to praying for blessings for the journey, praying for blessings for the journey ahead together. And over the next few weeks, we're gonna dig in a little bit more to what it means to be blessed, to how God is inviting blessing into your life, even when you're facing challenges, even when you're facing struggles. So I hope that you will join us in the weeks ahead to continue to see how God's blessing might bring hope in your life, how God's blessing might be realized in your life, whether you're starting school or whether you've got something else going on. So let's carry this blessing forward. Let's carry this blessing into our week, to our months, and to our seasons ahead. And right now, friends, what I want to do is I just want to pray for you. I want to pray that you receive this blessing from God. I want to pray that you are able to receive all that you need. So God, I just ask you, as we get ready to close in worship, That as people are facing uncertainties, as people are facing back to school, as people are facing other challenges in life, God, I pray that you just show up and you speak a word of blessing. You speak a word of hope. You speak a word of encouragement. And I pray also that all those who wear these tags that say God's got your back, that this will be a blessing, not only for them, but maybe for others who see it. And even if it doesn't cause a conversation, somebody else may see it and be like, yeah, maybe God does have my back too. May that be a seed of faith, a seed of something to come, a seed of hope, a seed of provision, a seed of your grace in somebody's life. God, I give this all to you. I give you thanks for your provision, for your blessing. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.